Brothers and sisters, peace be with you. Today we are reading from Hebrews chapter 7. We have Pastor Joshua sharing. Chapter 7 marks the beginning of a new paragraph. Chapter 1 to 6 is one unit. And then 7 to 10 is another unit. Chapter 1 to 6 talk about He lead us into the veil, the inner sanctuary. Christ suffered and he entered into glory. That's the way Jesus took. He suffered. From suffering, he entered into glory. So he offered himself for us. As he did that, from suffering to glory, in order to call us to follow him and go on this way. We say that we will be glorified on this way, but it's also enter into the inner sanctuary, into the veil. As he entered into the inner sanctuary, he suffered, he entered into the inner sanctuary, he offered himself. In order that he called us to go, to do the same, to enter into the sanctuary. That's why we always quote this. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace. Chapter 4, verse 16. We always quote this. And then in chapter 6, verse 19, this hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which enters the presence behind the veil, where the forerunner has entered for us, even Jesus, having become high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Jesus called us to go on this way in order to go behind the veil, enters the presence, where the throne of grace is, where we will obtain mercy, find grace to help in time of need. Chapter 4, verse 16. God always sits on the mercy seat. His glory is above the mercy seat, because he wants to give us grace, give us mercy. That's why he let Jesus make that way for us. So Jesus offered himself, he died. And the veil tore into half. The veil in the sanctuary, the way into the inner sanctuary was open. That's how he wants us to enter into the sanctuary. So to the Christians at the time, in persecution, in distress, do you go towards the world? Or do you go towards the inner sanctuary behind the veil, to the throne of grace? Do you want to receive the help and good advantage of the world, or do you want God's help? They must make that choice. And in order to make the choice, it's easy to follow the world. It was away from all suffering, all pain. But if they chose the way into the inner sanctuary, there's a way of suffering. If we go on to the worldly, the way of the world, but there is no way out. Because there is eternity. Yes, temporarily they are saved, but they lost eternity. The way of suffering Temporarily, it was a great suffering, but they will obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of needs that will overcome temporary difficulties and enter into eternity. Last chapter we talk about hope, and today we want to talk about this hope again. In chapter 7 to 10, Jesus offered himself for us this way. The office as a priest, talk about the office of Jesus as the high priest. His office is to bring off. He offered himself as a sacrifice for us all. His office, the outcome of his office, is to lead us before God into the presence of God. Chapter 1 to 6 emphasize on the way that is way of suffering, but you will be glorified. We are to take the same way. But why did he suffer and then he will be why did he suffer and then he will be glorified? Why? Why this way is through suffering we will be glorified? Yes, we suffer temporarily. What's the meaning of us the temporary suffering? So it's actually bringing a sacrifice to God. So Jesus offered himself to God. Likewise, we will be just like Jesus and offer ourselves to God. It's meaningful. The meaning is for us to enter before God. Then that means to a point that we say that we can connect with God. Now I will start on chapter 7. The title for chapter 7 is, I will give it, Priesthood, the priesthood of Jesus. That means it's the office as a priest. Priesthood. The priesthood of Jesus brings us to God forever. To the modern people, priesthood of Jesus means nothing to them. Because it talks more about Christ. But nowadays, people care only about themselves. So I want to give it another title. Regardless of any situation, we can come before God. To the Christians at the time, they faced great persecution. But Paul was telling them, yes, we can come before God. We come before God, that means that God's presence is with us. When we say we come before God, that means we are in God's presence. Enter behind the veil, we enter into God's presence. In chapter 7 says that we come before God. Regardless of the situation we are in, so maybe just like the Christians at the time, they faced great persecution. The situation was really harsh. Their life, their property, their family may perish before they know it. Chapter 1 to 6 talk about we need to suffer, we do not run away from it. If we run away from all this, we run to the world, we will lose our eternity. But if we suffer, we endure this suffering, we will be glorified. In chapter 7, tells us how we can be glorified when we suffered. This is us bringing offering to God, just like Christ. We may connect with God. Even in the great persecution and distress, we can still connect with God. But of course, we must face the suffering. Connect with God and then enter into another rest, another day of rest in the Lord. The priesthood of Jesus make that happen, make it possible. So to us today, brothers and sisters, to us today, the priesthood of Jesus, to our current situation, we can also enter before God by Him. Whatever, regardless of the social movement, or however serious the pandemic is, God can lead us to His presence. Through what Jesus has accomplished, we can come before Jesus and connect with God. In a dark age, we still find rest, God's rest. We still find help in time of need. That's what chapter 7 is trying to tell us. Chapter 7 to 10, 4 chapters tell us about this. Now we are reading from chapter 7. I divide chapter 7 into 3 paragraphs. The priesthood of Jesus is bigger than the Levitical priesthood. So the Levi was chosen to be the priests. But the priesthood of Jesus is greater than the Levitical priesthood. 2 key points here. The first one, verse 1 to 3. The priesthood of Jesus is similar to Melchizedek's. Verse 1 to 3. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. Verse 1. To whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all. And told us about Melchizedek, first being translated king of righteousness, and then also king of Salem, meaning king of peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, remains a priest continually. Verse 2 to 3. Talk about that Melchizedek was made like the Son of God. Why did the author mention this? First of all, he was the highest, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life. Why did he say it like this? It's because he will continue to talk about the relationship between Levites and Israel. Levite is one of the tribes of Israel chosen to be priest. So Levite is similar to is made like his brothers, right? But it's just he was chosen. But Jesus and Melchizedek are similar in this way. Jesus is in the order of Melchizedek. They are alike. But Jesus was chosen to be priest, just like Levi was chosen from the 12 tribes to be Levites, to be priests. Verse 4 to 10 is the second point of the first paragraph. The priesthood of Melchizedek is greater than Levites. Now to consider how great this man was, to whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. Verse 4. How great the priesthood of Melchizedek that even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. Great. How great is he? Honorable and great. And indeed, those who are of the sons of Levi who receive the priesthood, having a commandment to receive tithes from the people according to the law that is from their brethren, though they have come from the loins of Abraham. But he whose genealogy is not derived from them received tithes from Abraham, and bless him who had the promises. Verse 5 and 6. Verse 7, now beyond all contradiction, the lesser is blessed by the better. Even Melchizedek blessed Abraham. Of course, Melchizedek is of higher order than Abraham, right? Irrevocable, not arguable. And verse 9, even Levi, who receives tithes, paid tithe through Abraham, so to speak, for he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. Therefore, verse 9 and 10. Abraham paid a tithe to Melchizedek, and Levi was still in his loin because Levi came from Abraham, right? So Paul was saying that the priesthood of Melchizedek is greater. The priesthood of Melchizedek is greater than Abraham and Levi, who came after Abraham. And Jesus is a priest in the order of Melchizedek forever. And he was made in the likeness of his brethren. He is in our likeness, but he is above Levi. He's above us. The priesthood of Levi is not as high as Jesus because even Levi paid tithe to Melchizedek, who is similar than with Jesus. That's why the priesthood of Jesus is higher than the priesthood of Levi. Second paragraph, 11 to verse 19. By what Jesus has accomplished, the priesthood of Jesus, we come before God. Verse 11, therefore, if perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, for what further need was there that another priest shall rise according to the order of Melchizedek and not be called according to the order of Aaron? If perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, verse 11, what further need was there that another priest shall rise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not be called according to the order of Aaron? What was Paul trying to say here? As I read book of Hebrews this time, I realized that hope, perfection, I pay special attention to that. So what is the hope mentioned here? What does that mean? We understand God's rest, and we understand what it means to connect with God. And we understand what it means to enter behind the veil. If perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, perfection is a verb, it's an action. That means it's being made perfect. The purpose of priesthood is perfected, is accomplished. The purpose is accomplished, fulfilled. It will be made complete. That means it's truly fulfilled. The priesthood, the duty, totally fulfilled. He completed it. If Aaron and the Levitical priesthood fulfill the whole priesthood of fulfill all the duty of the priesthood, what further need was there that another priest shall rise according to the order of Melchizedek and not the order of Aaron? If the Levitical priest of Aaron under the order of Aaron will fulfill everything, why? What further need to arise to have another priest? Verse 12, for the priesthood being changed of the necessity, there is also a change of the Lord. The Levitical priesthood is not perfect. That's what it means here. That's why the priesthood must be changed. The priest ordained by man cannot fulfill what God wants him to do. We have not talked about what perfection means. It's not imperfect. He cannot fulfill. The purpose is not fulfilled. But then we must ask, what are the purposes of God? The purposes of God, the purposes of God, what we accomplish through this priesthood, to come before God and enter behind the veil. But the Levitical priesthood is unable to do this. So there needs to rise another one, another priest. The priesthood, for the priesthood being changed, it cannot fulfilled. Of necessity, there is also a change of the Lord. So we don't understand priesthood change, why there should be a change of the law as well. I will try to tell you in by the original text. For the priesthood being changed, the priesthood has been changed because it cannot fulfill its duty. It cannot fulfill its duty from necessity. Of necessity, there is also a change of the Lord. For he of whom these things are spoken belongs to another tribe, from which no man has officiated at the altar. For it is evident that our Lord arose from Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. Jesus is not of the tribe of Levi. He is from another tribe, arose from Judah, and of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. For it is evident that and it is far more evident that if in the likeness of Melchizedek there arise another priest who has come not according to the law, who has come not according to the law of a fleshly commandments, but according to the power of an endless life. According to the power of an endless life, for he testifies, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. For on the other hand, there is an annulling of the former commandments because of its weakness and unprofitableness. For the law make nothing perfect, and on the other hand, there is the bringing in of a better hope through which we draw nearer to God. Verse all the way to 19. Verse 15 to 19. We are not sure what Apostle Paul was saying. It seems like he was talking about another planet which we know nothing about. Verse 11. Therefore, if perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, verse 11. That means the Levitical priesthoods cannot fulfill the purpose of a priesthood. That's why there should be a change of the law. But not according to the law of a fleshly commandment, but according to the power of an endless life, which Moses had not talked about. According to the order of Melchizedek, there arose another priest, according to the power of an endless life. For God testified for him, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Verse 18, there is an annulling of the former commandment. Former commandment means the law of the commandment of the flesh, and also the law which mentioned in verse 15. The priest set up by this law was unable to fulfill the priesthood. That's why it needs to be appointed. The priest must be appointed according to the power of an endless life. Because the former commandment, because it's weak and unprofitable. Verse 18. What does it mean that it's weak and unprofitable? That is the commandment made in flesh. The law of the flesh is strengthless. Got no power at all. Useless and without strength. It's weak and unprofitable. It cannot fulfill. That's why it was nullified. The law make nothing perfect. Make nothing perfect. And that is the same as the perfection were through the Levitical priesthood. So 11 verse 11, with perfection. This is a noun. Verse 18, there's make perfect, that's a verb. That means it's perfect. Then the purpose is accomplished. The pulpit is made for a purpose. If we make this pulpit so small, I can't see, then the pulpit will be weak and unprofitable, no strength and useless. You're so short, and I can't see from your if I have to squat, then why not I just, put on the floor? What's your use? So you need to make something just right within our eyesight. Not too tall, not too high, not too short. Then that means it's with strength and it's profitable. If the pulpit is so small, is weak, profitable, nullified, then you need to arose another pulpit. Purpose, fit for the purpose. We have to make it fit for the purpose. For the law make nothing perfect. Verse 19, make nothing perfect. There is the bringing in of a better hope through which we draw near to God. Better hope. Better in original text means stronger, also means better. Stronger, better hope. So better hope. So here, better hope is in contrast to weakness. So should be strengthless and better. Stronger. The former commandment, the Levitical priesthood, is weak and unprofitable. So this law make nothing perfect. Make nothing perfect. So we want to have a better hope, bringing in better hope. So because in contrast to weak, to strengthless, this is better, stronger. The hope is better and stronger. What is this a better hope? Through which we draw near to God. The law make nothing perfect. So that's why we need bringing in a better hope. Through this hope, this better hope, we draw near to God. This law of flesh make nothing perfect. It's useless. It's strengthless. Talking about the matter that we are drawn into God's presence. In this matter, the law of flesh is useless, is strengthless. The priest had to atone for their own sin. He is unable to bring you into behind the veil. That's why every year, the high priest go into the Holy of the Holies and come before the throne of grace. He cannot bring anyone there. He is the only one. But Jesus died for us, right? The veil is torn into half. We can enter directly. The Levitical priesthood has made nothing perfect. Imperfect. Unable to fulfill. It's not fit for the purpose what the priesthood is about. The priesthood is to bring people to God so that man may connect with God and enter into God's presence, God's rest. But the Levitical priest was not fit for this purpose. So Jesus came to make that possible, make it happen. So there arise another high priest in the order of Melchizedek, according to the power of an endless life. He suffered for us, and he walked on this way. He walked in this human form. That's why he obeyed 7 times. So he became man from God, and then he suffered and went to the cross. He walked on this suffering and glorious way. This is an effective way in order to bring us totally, completely to God. He is the Son of God. He led all brothers, that's us, perfect, totally before God. So he is the author of salvation. Is appropriate. He is fit to be an author of our salvation. Now I'm back to Hebrews chapter 2. What we just mentioned in chapter 2. He is fit for this. Only he can do it. Levites cannot do it. Aaron cannot do it. Because the old law, the law of flesh, cannot make nothing perfect. That's why we need a better hope. That's Jesus. Through what Jesus has accomplished, we can come before God. Through which we draw near to God. Through what Jesus, the priesthood, has accomplished, we draw near to God. That's all. That's what I say. For the Christians at the time, what did Paul say to them? Now we are facing persecution. We must go on the heavenly way. Yeah, this way may be a way of suffering. But we may connect with God. If you connect with the world, you will lose God. You will lose your life. But if we are connected with God, now I can find help because God knows really well my needs. Because the gospel Jesus shared, like double-edged sword, everything inside me, he knows it all well. He knows it. He touches it. And he walked what we walk. He can help us. Now we are struggling. But Jesus can help us. And lead us to before God and connect with God. Yes, there is a pulling force in the world, but as long as we are connected with God, we can overcome this world. We will not lose heart because of the suffering and persecution. And in God, we connect with God and we enter God's rest. Then we'll find strength. We'll find hope. We can surpass it. Even though we're still in the world, but we can overcome the world. And 20 to 28, the third paragraph. The priesthood of Jesus make it possible that we can always come to God. The key here is about forever. Before, in the previous paragraph, it talks about we may draw near to God, right? Now, verse 28. For the Lord appoints as high priest men who have weakness. But the word of the oath which came after the Lord appoints the Son who have been perfect forever. Appoint the Son of God to be high priest, who has been perfected forever. The perfect here is a verb, and same as verse 19, perfect, same. It's also a verb, so it will be the same as verse 11. And verse 11 is a noun, but the same word. Perfect. Perfect. Who has been perfected forever. Complete, perfect, or accomplished. In the Old Testament, they appointed high priest men who have weaknesses. We cannot come before God because the Lord has made nothing perfect. So Jesus was sent. God sent his Son to accomplish this for us. We can come before God now. That's what previous chapter talk about. Verse 20 to 28 talk about that we may live before God forever. What Jesus has offered once and for all, he did once for all. That's verse 27. Who does not need daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifices, first for his own sins, then for the people's. For this he did once for all when he offered up himself. Perfected. The high priest of the world offer up sacrifices first for his own sons and then for the people's. But Jesus, he did once for all when he offered up himself. He offered once for all. He did once for all. For all. But the Chinese is a little bit different. So he offered himself once. It's accomplished. So we can come before God. We can come before God forever. But then the earthly priests have to bring off of sacrifice every day. But we cannot come before God either. The human flesh, human priest brings sacrifices. You cannot bring you to God. But Jesus did once for all. It's accomplished for all. All accomplished. He can lead us to God forever. And he lives forever, always intercedes. Verse 22, by so much more, Jesus has become a surety of a better covenant. Verse 22. Better covenant. Better hope, better covenant. So Jesus is the stronger pledge of this better covenant. Surety, pledge. Jesus offered up himself. He comes to God and he sits at the right hand of God. and he lives forever, and he intercedes for us. He is a surety for us. The pledge is a strong pledge. But Aaron was weak and useless. Jesus, in the order of Melchizedek, he offered himself this way, and he's strong. That he is strong not just once, but forever. He lives forever and always intercedes for us, so that we may come before God forever. That's why he is stronger, he is useful, he is fit for the purpose. But the Levitical priesthood is not fit for the purpose, it's useless. But what Jesus did is useful, and it lasts forever. Brothers and sisters, whatever situation we are in, maybe it's the darkness in the world or severe pandemic, or oh no, there is like this vertical transmission. Oh no, maybe we're in the same block. We need to do tests and also isolation. But we believe God will protect us. Jesus lives forever to intercede for us. We follow government order, but we also believes that God will protect us. We will have peace. Now this time, our physical services is suspended. We have taken this action, and then the government announced that asking all churches to stop physical services. Brothers and sisters, we're so thankful hearing this. Yes, everything is in God's hand. God has told Pastor Joshua ahead of time. That's why we have great peace. We are not panicking. So we live every day in peace, even though the world is hard, the day is harsh, but we have peace. Jesus intercedes for us. He is our pledge. He leads us to God, and we connect with God. This peace shall last forever. Amen. May God bless us. Let's keep up the good work, brothers and sisters. However great the difficulty is, however dark it is, the Lord saves 2022. Amen.